I think I owe it to my students not to just teach them history from a book, but to really do boots on the ground research. My name is Professor Brian Glyn Williams. I'm professor of Islamic history, and my specialty is probing the background behind the wars and terrorism in the Middle East and also in Russia and Ukraine. I travel and live in the war zones that I study. For example, spending a summer traveling across the mountains and deserts of Afghanistan, living with anti-Taliban Uzbek Mongol warlords. You can learn more interacting with them in a day than you can in a year of clattering away on your computer. As someone who's a specialist in the tribes and the culture and the history, I bring a different approach. I can interact with them by sharing stories of their history, their culture. For example, I became friends with a notorious Taliban-killing warlord named General Dostum, and he wasn't eager to meet Western correspondents. But when I arrived at his compound and told him I knew all about the history of his tribe and his people, instantly I had an entree into the warrior culture of his people. There wasn't a whole lot of interest in, say, the Taliban or Al-Qaeda back when I was doing my PhD. Then, of course, 9/11 came along, and that was a game changer. My arcane field suddenly became a spotlight, and suddenly I'm being recruited to work for the CIA, to use my knowledge to track Taliban and Al-Qaeda suicide bombers. Certainly one of the most unexpected examples of me finding real-world applications for my historical knowledge was when I was recruited by the famous Hollywood director Jerry Bruckheimer for a blockbuster movie called 12 Strong, a story about Green Beret special forces riding horses in the mountains with Uzbek warlords who I was friends with. And it was gratifying for me as a historian to have these director and crew take my advice on costumes, on language, rhetoric. It was really exciting for me to meet Chris Hemsworth and advise him on the lines for the movie with the real history that I knew from my own boots on the ground research. But the real joy for me is coming back to Umass Dartmouth and being able to share my stories about my adventures over the summer with my students, and then enlivening my classes with photographs, with stories. I teach one class called Ukraine's Battle for Survival, another class called The History of Israel's Wars, which goes all the way back to the ancient Romans and up to recent events, including attacks in Lebanon, another class on CIA drone warfare, and another class on special forces warfare in Afghanistan. Don't just regurgitate what someone else has written. Find that one area that makes you burn and deep dive into that. Own that one field, master it, and try to contribute something new. I get to teach classes not about ancient, dusty, moldy history from 2,000 years ago. We are studying history as it unfolds. The students we have here, they come here so eager to learn, and they're mastering these topics, and they're on fire to write, to research. It makes this job invaluable. You know, I've had opportunities to go work for the government permanently, but I would never give up the teaching